Hello, 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 and welcome on in. Welcome aboard. The gangplank is out. Come on. Grab yourself a seat. And welcome to Aware and Convinced. My name is Glenn, and I am a recovered alcoholic. Drank for 40 plus years, now have over 5,000 days of sobriety. Only by the grace of God, I might add. And welcome in. This is the channel about recovery, and that's what we do here. Talk about it a little bit and talk to you. What is tonight? It is Friday night, right? Friday night. Man, I used to go out and tear up Friday nights. Used to tear it up. Don't do that anymore. That's for sure. Uh-oh. Where did I go? Where did I go? I think I just made myself disappear for some reason. Trying to monitor here. Let's go back here. All right, turn myself down so we don't get a loop going. That would not be good. All right. So, welcome in on this Friday night. Hope you had a good day out there today. And if you're watching at night, that's great. If you're watching in the morning, afternoon, evening, overnight, that's okay too, because you can always get the replay if you'd like. And we're right up there on the replay lives on YouTube. We're on Kick and we're on Facebook too. So jump in. Want to say a very good evening to you. And oh, excuse me. Feel free to jump in the chat anytime if you have anything to say, anything to contribute, any questions, any answers. Hey, I'd like to talk to you anyway. So again, my name is Glenn, and it is nice to be here with you on a Friday night. What are you doing tonight or today? What are you doing? Anything special? Are you staying out of trouble? Be a good thing. Boy, man, there is a lot of trouble out there. I was watching the news today. Whew, man. Yeah. I don't know. It can get a little bit depressing when you watch the news. That's for sure. So we need more good news, right? More good news. All right. Yeah, so anyway, we're going to hang out for a little bit. And we've been reading out of the big book, and we'll do a little bit of that. And if you care to join us, I'd be more than happy to have you here. Stick around. This is the meeting after the meeting. Whether it's AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, whatever your flavor is. Maybe you're in treatment, out of treatment. Maybe you've never been to treatment. Maybe you're normal, whatever that is. Well, you're more than welcome here as well. All right. We do talk about spirituality. We talk about faith. We talk about doing the right thing. What do they call it when you do the right thing and nobody's looking? What's the name that they give that? You do the right thing even when nobody's looking. Yep, they call that integrity. So we do talk about integrity as well. There was a time when I didn't have very much integrity, but only by the grace of God did I get it back. Was able to recapture it. And I'm glad I did. It's a new life. New life, living it sober. So glad we're here. I have the aquarium going in the back there. You like the aquarium? Don't need water anymore. Don't need tanks anymore. Great aquarium. Love it. Don't have to clean it. Don't have to do anything to it. Just turn it on. There it is. Well, I like fish anyway. I do like fish. I would put a real one there. That doesn't. I always enjoyed my aquariums that I had throughout my life. I haven't had one for a few years, but always enjoyed them. So we're going to talk about a little recovery tonight, and a little of this, a little of that. And of course, I have my resources. Of course, we use the Celebrate Recovery Study Bible. And sometimes we haven't talked about this in quite a while, but I do like to go over the 8 principles of Celebrate Recovery, which embody the 12 steps of recovery. Just a little bit condensed with the Celebrate Recovery system. We have the big book of NA and we have the big book of AA, all available on Amazon if you need it. Would like to read it, would like to get sober, and we've been reading out of the big book for the past few nights. Well, okay. Thank you, Juan. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Different strokes for different folks. That's okay. All right. Well, nice to have you along. I have to laugh. That's good. Very good. Yeah, we're cooked. Yeah, I think I saw the same one actually. And I was taken back too. I was like, what? Hey, you know, it's a big world out there. It's a big world. So if that's what, like I said, some people like apple pie, some like blueberry, some don't like pie at all. It's up to you. But I want to welcome you anyway. Welcome aboard. So we were just reading a little bit out of the big book here and how it works. Went through the 12 steps. And those are the 12, they call them steps. I don't know, I'd probably call them rocks. The 12 pillars of sobriety, but they call them the 12 steps. And we did go through all 12 of them yesterday, and I would say step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And in the chapter, How It Works, we got through most of that chapter. And I stopped right here. Being convinced. We were at step 3. Thank you. Thanks, Juan. Thank you. Cheers to you as well. Being convinced, we were at step 3, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood Him. And what do we mean by that? And just what do we do? Well, the first requirement was that we be convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be a success. True. On that basis, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though our motives are good. Most people try to live by self-propulsion. Each person's like an actor who wants to run the whole show. He's forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the players in his own way. If this arrangement would only stay put, if only people would do as he wishes, the show would be great. Everybody, including himself, would be pleased. Life would be wonderful. In trying to make these arrangements, our actor may sometimes be quite virtuous. He may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing. On the other hand, he may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest. But as with most humans, he's most likely to have varied traits. What usually happens? The show doesn't come off very well. He begins to think life doesn't treat him right. He decides to exert himself some more. He becomes, on the next occasion, still more demanding or gracious, as the case may be. Still, the play does not suit him. Admitting he may be somewhat at fault, he's sure that other people are more to blame. That's right, blame everybody else. Why not? I've heard that before. I did it myself. I understand. He became angry, indignant, self-pitying. What's his basic trouble? Basic trouble is he's not really a self-seeker, even when trying to be kind. He's not a victim of the delusion that he can get satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only manages well. Is it not evident to all the rest of the players that these are the things he wants? And do not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate, snatching all they can to get out of the show? Is he not even in his best moments a producer of confusion rather than harmony? Oh yeah. Our actor is self-centered, egocentric, and yeah, self-centered and egocentric. Oh, God bless you too. Have a great weekend, Dana. Then give my best to Jeff. So, our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves. And the alcoholic / addict, whatever your addiction is an extreme example of self-will run riot. All right. We had to have God's help. This is the how and the why of it. We had to stop playing God. It didn't work. We decided in this drama of life that God was going to be our director. He is the principal. We are his agent. He's the father. We are the children. And most good ideas are simple. And this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we passed to freedom. Let's see. I'm kind of skipping around here a little bit, condensing. We were now at step 3, and many of us said to our Maker as we understood him, God, I offer myself to thee. Okay. This is where we left off last night. We were now at step 3. Many of us said to our Maker as we understood him, God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. We thought well before taking this step, making sure that we were ready, that we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to him. We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, and typically it would be your sponsor, if you have one. If you don't, you should get one. Typically your sponsor, best friend, spiritual advisor, someone you trust. But it's better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional so long as we expressed the idea, voicing it without reservation. This was only a beginning. Though if honestly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once. I can remember doing step 3, the third step prayer, with my sponsor, who has passed on. Well, he was my sponsor, but technically he was my temporary sponsor. He was my temporary sponsor until he passed away. And that was a little joke that we had between us. I never called him my sponsor, and he never called me his sponsee. He was my temporary sponsor, but the temporary was permanent. He was a lot of fun and smart, intelligent, smart. When it came to AA, man, he blew everybody away. He was something else. Anyway, so that's who I shared my third step prayer with, and as it says, sometimes you know, if honestly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once, and I can say that's the truth. More than once did I get the goosebumps from things that were said and done, and the spirituality of going through AA and getting sober. It was an amazing journey. Next, after we said the third step prayer, we launched out on a course of vigorous action. The first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Yeah, that's the truth. You got to clean house. Okay, as I say at the end of each live cast, trust God, clean house, and help others. You got to clean house. You got to get the garbage out. Take the garbage out. Take the garbage out, because garbage sticking around in there is just not going to work. Just like at your own house. Garbage, you got to take it out. You know, at least a few times a week. Take it out. Take it outside. Throw it in the dumpster. Put it in the trash can. Get it out of the house. Okay. We had to get rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. And your drug of choice, of course, for AAs, it's always the booze. Sometimes it's double, booze and other things as well. But it doesn't matter, whatever your addiction is. It is just a symptom. So we had to get down to causes and conditions. So we started upon a personal inventory. Now, this was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and a fact-facing process. It's an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. That's a phrase you don't hear much anymore, the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. Put them on sale, get them out of there. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. And being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, was what had defeated us, we considered its common manifestations. Resentment. Everybody familiar with that word? Resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics, more addicts than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, but we've been spiritually sick as well. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. And in most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships were hurt. or threatened. So we were mad. We were angry. We were PO'd. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relations, which had been interfered with? Mm-hmm. We were usually as definite as this example. And then they give a listing, the 3 columns, which you can do. I am resentful at, you put the name down. That's the first column. The cause, why? And it affects your what? Self-esteem, personal relations, sex relations. Yes, when he told his wife of his mistress, that definitely affected his sex relations. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? All right. We went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us, and we stayed pissed off. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. It's plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. Man, isn't that the truth? Resentments lead only to futility and unhappiness. Yeah, if you're pissed off at the world and everybody in it, you are not going to be a happy camper. I take that as a fact, Jack. To the precise extent that we permit these resentments, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile? Yeah, your brain, mine used to anyway. Resentments, I spent a lot of brain power. What a waste of time and energy, resentments. Squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the addict, alcoholic, whatever your addiction happens to be, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. Yeah, it can be fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol, drugs, whatever your addiction happens to be, whatever flavor you like, returns, and we use and abuse all over again. And with us, to use, doesn't matter what the drug is, and alcohol is a drug, whatever it is, with us to use is to die. It may not be immediate, but certainly you're dying slowly. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, women, but for addicts, these things are poison. We turned back to the list, for it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered. But how? We cannot wish them away any more than the drugs. Couldn't just wish them away. No, no way. Well, this was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way that these disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick. They were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended us, we said to ourselves, this is a sick person. How can I be helpful to them? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done. Interesting approach, right? Somebody offends you, somebody pisses you off. So you show them the same tolerance that God shows you. Interesting. And it works. That's the key. God save me from being angry, thy will be done. That's a short little prayer. We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. Even if we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. That's Christian. Absolutely. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Though the situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other person's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set these matters straight. Notice that the word fear is bracketed alongside the difficulties. Oh, that's going back to that list, fear. This short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. Yes, it does. It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. It set in motion trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt that we didn't deserve. But did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Yeah, why do you have certain fears, anxieties? Why? Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse. Perhaps there's a better way, we think. For we're now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. We're in the world to play the role that He assigns. Just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us and humbly rely on Him. Let's go back and do that one again. We are in the world to play the role He assigns us. Just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us and humbly rely on Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity? That's a long sentence. We never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator, God, as you understand Him. We can laugh at those who think spirituality is the way of weakness. Paradoxical, yeah, I know I can say it. Paradoxically, it is the way of strength. The verdict of the ages is that faith means courage. All men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let Him demonstrate through us what He can do. We ask Him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what He would have us be. At once, we commence to outgrow fear. Trust God. Now, about sex. Now, I'm reading this, folks, right out of the big book. So, now about sex. Many of us needed an overhauling there. But above all, we tried to be sensible on this question. It's so easy to get way off the track. Here we find human opinions running to extremes, absurd extremes, perhaps. One set of voices cry that sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex, who bewail the institution of marriage, who think the most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think that we do not have enough of it, or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow man no flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. We want to stay out of this controversy. Good idea. We do not want to be the arbiter of anyone's sex conduct or sex life. We all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. True. What can we do about them? We reviewed our own conduct over the years past where we had been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate. Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Where were we at fault? What should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked at it. And in this way, we tried to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjected each relation to this test. Was it selfish or not? We asked God to mold our ideals and help us to live up to them. We remembered always that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised or loathed. Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends where we have done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm in doing so. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we just want it. God alone can judge our sex situation. Counsel with persons is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking or advice. Suppose we fall short of the chosen ideal and stumble. Does this mean we're going to get drunk? Or are we going to use our favorite drug of choice? Well, some people tell us so, but this is only a half-truth. It depends on us and our motives. If we're sorry for what we've done and have the honest desire to let God take us to better things, we believe we'll be forgiven and will have learned our lesson. If we're not sorry and our conduct continues to harm others, we're quite sure to use and abuse our drug of choice. We're not theorizing. These are facts out of our experience. To sum up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. If sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves all the harder into helping others. We think of their needs and work for them. This takes us out of ourselves. It quiets the imperious urge when to yield would certainly mean heartache. If we've been through about, I beg my pardon, if we've been thorough about our personal inventory, we've written down a lot. We've listed and analyzed our resentments. We've begun to comprehend their futility and their fatality. We've commenced to see their terrible destructiveness. We've begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill toward all men, even our enemies, for we look on them as sick people. We've listed the people that we've hurt by our conduct, and we're willing to straighten out the past if we could, making those amends. In this book, meaning the big book of AA, in this book, you read again and again that faith did for us what we could not do for ourselves. And that is the truth. Faith, God. We hope you're convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from him. If you've already made a decision and an inventory of your grosser handicaps, you've made a good beginning. That being so, you've swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself. Yeah. Yep. That does take some digesting. The truth about yourself. And I can honestly say for myself, I can look back and say, yeah, I was selfish, I was dishonest, I was all of those negative things because I was, I had no faith, I had no spirituality. God was always with me, but not present, or should I say present, but not with me. Maybe that's a better way to put it. I was not with God. My self-will blocked me off from God. And it took a while to get to know God again. And I am so grateful to God for all that he has given me every day. Every day. We began to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill toward all men, even our enemies, for we look on them as sick people. That's important. Even the people that you don't, I mean, I've had some bosses that I couldn't stand, I had no tolerance. I had no patience. And the last thing on the list was there was no goodwill towards some of these people out there. But now it's different. Now it's a lot different. Of course, it's the old story. If I knew then what I know now, things would be a lot different. The unfortunate thing is you can't go back in time. Not yet, anyway. Maybe down the road. All right. So, man, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Chapter 6 is coming up next of the big book. I do like this little book, though. I like reading out of this one. Let's see if I can find something here. Oh, well, this is right along with, this kind of goes right along with what we just talked about. Um, I kind of touched on this last night. The live and let live philosophy of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Live and let live. It's very easy to use other people's actions as an alibi for using, whether it's drinking or drugging. We used to be experts at it. Oh, yeah. But in sobriety, we've learned a new technique. We never let ourselves get so resentful towards someone else that we allow that person to control our lives, especially to the extent of causing us to drink or drug. Boy, I was pointed to that page after what we were just talking about. We have found that we have no desire to let any other person run or ruin our lives. This is out of the Living Sober book, courtesy of Alcoholics AA, Worldwide Services. An ancient sage said that none of us should criticize another until we've walked a mile in the other person's shoes or boots. This says boots, but I've never heard it said boots. But hey, boots, shoes, it's all the same. Never should criticize another until we walked a mile in the other person's boots, shoes. I prefer my sandals, actually. That's very old school. This wise advice can give us greater compassion for our fellow human beings, and putting it into practice makes us feel much better than being drug sick or hungover. You got that right. Let live, yes, but some of us find just as much value in the first part of the slogan, live. When we've worked out ways to enjoy our own living fully, then we're content to let other people live any way they want. And that's how I look at life generally, and other people. There's a lot of people that have different lifestyles and different choices than I would make. But I don't care. I mean, as long as they don't hurt somebody, me, or, family or whatever, as long as nobody gets hurt, I don't care. You can do whatever. Act any way you want. We're content to let other people live any way they want. If our own lives are interesting and productive, we really have no impulse or desire to find fault with others who worry about the way they act. It bothers me. Who bothers me? Well, yeah, it's a he. If you can, try something. Postpone thinking about him or her and whatever it is about the person that bothers you. You can boil inside about it later if you want to, but right now, why not put it off while you read the next paragraph? Okay. Live. Be concerned with your own living. Amen. In our opinion, staying sober opens up the way to life and happiness. It's worth sacrificing many a grudge or argument. Absolutely true. Okay, so you didn't manage to keep your mind completely off the other person. Let's see whether the suggestion coming up next will help. And the next chapter in Living Sober, courtesy of AA, I need to give them credit where credit is due. First printing, 1975. 53rd printing, 2022. Copyright 2019 by Alcoholics Anonymous World Services. Chapter 6 is getting active. So that's the one thing you have to do. You have to get active. It's very hard just to sit still and try not to do a certain thing or not to even think about it. It's much easier to get active and do something else other than the act we're trying to avoid. So it is with drinking, drugging. Simply trying to avoid a drink or a drug or not think of one all by itself, it doesn't seem to be enough. The more we think about the drink or the drug that we're trying to keep away from, the more it occupies our mind. Of course. And that's no good. It's better to get busy with something, almost anything, that will use our mind and channel our energy toward health. Makes perfect sense. Common sense. What's common about common sense? I ask you. Thousands of us wondered what we would do once we stopped drinking or drugging. With all that time in our hands. Sure enough, when we did stop ordering the drugs, getting them delivered or getting them, recovering from its immediate effects, suddenly turned into big empty holes of time that had to be filled somehow. And I think that happens a lot. Those holes that need to be filled. God does not like a vacuum. It needs to be filled. And when the drugs aren't there, it creates a vacuum. It's filled with negativity, and a lot of people have to fill it with something else. Drugs or alcohol, to take up that space. I know. How do I know? Because I did it. That's how I know. Most of us had jobs to do, but even so, there were some pretty long vacant stretches of minutes or hours staring at us. We needed new habits of activity to fill those open spaces and utilize the nervous energy previously absorbed by our obsession with drinks or drugs. Anyone who's ever tried to break a habit knows that substituting a new and different activity is easier than just stopping the old activity and putting nothing in its place. Recovered addicts often say, just stopping is not enough. Just not using, drinking, is a negative, sterile thing. It's clearly demonstrated by our experience. To stay stopped, we found that we need to put in place of the drinking or drugging a positive program of action. We've had to learn how to live sober. Fear may have originally pushed some of us toward looking into the possibility that we might have a drinking or drugging problem. Yeah. And over a short period, fear alone may help some of us stay away from a drink, but a fearful state is not a very happy or relaxed state to be in. So we try to develop a healthy respect for the power of our drug of choice instead of a fear of it. Just as people have a healthy respect for cyanide or iodine or any other poison. Without going around in a constant fear of those potions, most people respect what they can do to the body and have enough sense not to ingest them. Common sense. What's common about common sense? We now have the same knowledge of and regard for drink or drug. But of course, it's based on firsthand experience, not on seeing a skull and crossbones on a label. No, they don't do that. They just put, well, for drinkers, of course, you have your favorite drink, favorite whiskey, favorite scotch, favorite rum, favorite whatever, tequila, whatever your favorite is. Yeah, it's a nice big label on it. And that does not have a skull and crossbones. It says poison. This will eventually kill you if you drink enough of it. We can't rely on fear to get us through those empty hours without a drink or a drug. So what can we do? We found many kinds of activity useful and profitable, some more than others. Here are two kinds in the order of their effectiveness as we experienced it. Okay. Activity in and around AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, whatever the group is. When experienced, group members say they found getting active helpful in their recovery. They found that getting active was helpful in their recovery from addiction. They usually mean getting active around any group that you happen to belong to, whether it's AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, or anything else, church group, whatever. Get active. What's the other way? Some of us, when we first stop drinking or drugging, seem to experience a sort of temporary failure of the imagination. It's curious because during our using and abusing days, so many of us displayed almost unbelievably fertile powers of imagination. In less than a week, we could dream up instantly more reasons, excuses, for drinking and drugging than most people use for all other purposes in a lifetime. Isn't that the truth? When the need to give ourselves reasons for our drinking or our drugging when the need to give ourselves reasons for our drinking or drugging is no longer there, it often seems that our minds go on a sit-down strike. Some of us find that we can't think up non-drug-related things to do. Perhaps this is because we're just out of the habit, or perhaps the mind needs a period of restful convalescence after an active addiction stops. In either case, the dullness goes away. After our first month's sobriety, many of us notice a distinct difference. After 3 months, our mind seems still clearer, and during our second year of recovery, change is striking. More mental energy seems available to us than ever before. But it's during the seemingly endless first dry stretch that you'll hear some of us say, "What do we do?" following is a list for use at that time. And then they go on and say, take a walk, read, go out, exercise. Well, it says go out, go to the movies, go to a museum, not to your local bar or your local dealer's house. Exercise or start a project, long neglected chores, cleaning out the house, sorting papers. Keep yourself busy is the bottom line. Try a new hobby, revisit an old pastime. Taking a course, educate yourself. Volunteer to do some useful service. Do something about your personal appearance. Volunteering is big, and it's very rewarding. I have found it so, and I only speak from my own experience. And then you can do whatever. Fill this one in for yourself. Let's hope the list above sparked an idea for you, which is different from all of those listed. One word of caution, though. Some of us find that we have a tendency to go overboard and try too many things at once. We have a good break for that, which you'll read about on page 43. Okay, it's called Easy Does It. Take it slow. Oh, I like this next chapter. We're going to do this one tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. Yeah, we'll do this one tomorrow. Definitely. Next chapter is all about the Serenity Prayer. And it's a short chapter, too. Very short chapter. I want to do that. All right. So where are we? Where are you on this Friday? Hope you had a good day today. And I think we're about to wrap things up here, the meeting after the meeting. Let's see, what did we do here tonight? We did how it works. We expanded on the 12 steps, particularly step 3 and the third step prayer and inventory, step 4. Talked about that, and we talked about all of these resentments that we got to get rid of. Went back through our lives. Yeah. And we talked about sex while we're getting sober. And hey, look, there's a lot to digest there, as they say. You pray for guidance, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. Isn't that the bottom line about life in general? I think so. Sanity, the strength to do the right thing, and guidance. Okay, so we are going to wrap it up right now. Remember the 3 pillars of sobriety, getting sober. Trust God, clean house, help others. God bless you. God bless our veterans. And never forget that somebody out there loves you. And we'll see you next time. Take care for now.